Well, when we did this webinar, did we have technical issues? It was quite an evening, and for some reason, Zoom also didn't record all of it. Fortunately, we've captured most of the webinar. My presentation's completely missing. Kai, who assisted me on the evening, he's broke up a couple of times. Rigo also had issues. So my presentation I am doing for you today, not live as in the webinar, live as in I sit here and you watch it. So thank you for coming, and many people have asked us for this particular recording, so here it is. And thank you for coming along. I'm Andrew Fordred, your host. We're talking about what's up with WhatsApp. So let's go through it. It's not too long, and I've also fielded some of the questions that were asked. Fortunately, some of the question log did upload by Zoom, and so I'll deal with those questions through this presentation. Before we kick off, WhatsApp, we've all read about it in the media, has issued this ultimatum. You've either got to accept their terms and conditions, or if you don't, that is the end of your relationship with WhatsApp. Now, this has created a huge amount of confusion. Some people who really want to protect their privacy, I'm one of those people. You really don't want to be sitting here abdicating your privacy, so you would rather preserve it. So this option is just maybe not for me. Other people don't mind, and those that are still haven't made that decision and remain sort of in flux as to what they do, our whole presentation today talks to what we're talking about in terms of privacy and your security, which is important. And hopefully we present you with information for you to be able to go and make an informed decision. I'm ably assisted by Kai Kleingunter. He assists us with personal data legislation and legal issues relating to cyber. And my good colleague and associate Rigo Redich, who also is our in-house hacker and our security engineer. And he'll talk to you a little bit later in this particular webinar. So WhatsApp was bought in 2016 by Facebook. And here's the thing. WhatsApp has been sharing data with Facebook ever since. So this brings that question about, so what do we do about it? Maybe they've got my data already. Yeah, they probably have. And then if they've got my data already, why should I stop using it? Because it's an inevitability. Correct, it may be. But if you stop using it, you won't be sharing any more data. They'll just have a less chunk of data about you. And when Facebook bought WhatsApp, they paid $19 billion for it. Simply put, nobody buys something to be nice to other people, especially those type of amounts of money. And if you're freely offering 1% of $19 billion, I'll have it. Thank you very much. All donations gratefully received. So let's run through quickly. We've prepared a nice document for you, which you can download. There's a link below for you. Those who attended the webinar would have received that in their emails. So let's go through what is really going on here. Okay, private data will move to Facebook servers. As I mentioned to you earlier, that data is probably there already, particularly, we logically use WhatsApp on our phones. But if you're also using the Facebook app on your phone, the two are sending data to each other already. Apps collect data. We'll do another webinar at some stage all about how apps gather data on your phone. You agree to it because you want to use that product, and it takes your data from your phone all the time, 24 hours a day. It takes that data. All apps do it. So there's no such thing as a free lunch. What has happened here with apps is we have become the product. It will also take the user's phone number. Obviously, when you registered your app or your WhatsApp account, you had to upload your cell phone number. It will also store all information that is in your contacts or address book on your phone. So even people who don't have Facebook or don't have WhatsApp or have one or the other, their data will be uploaded to Facebook servers. And there, I think we should really be respectful to our family and friends who may not want their data to be uploaded to Facebook servers, because there's a reason already that they're not there. So I think we've got to take it upon ourselves and say to ourselves, these people are not on Facebook. So why would we want to assume the role of uploading their data onto Facebook? So it's a couple of society questions that come up there that are worthwhile in answering. Your profile name, whatever you registered your phone number under, I often say to people, if you're going to register an account with WhatsApp, then use some pseudonym. It's not illegal, but if you're calling yourself Tom Sawyer and you're doing nothing else and everybody knows you by that, particularly on your WhatsApp account, then there's nothing wrong with that. Any pictures that are associated with your profile will be uploaded. Your profile data is not encrypted. Your messaging data is encrypted. Your status messages, again, part of your profile. I went to lunch with Freddie, or I went to town with Susan, or whatever you did, and you post that up as a status update, Facebook will know about that. All diagnostic data will be collected as to relating to your phone. Rigo covers that a little bit later, so I'm not going to go into a lot of details there. And all this data goes to Facebook's family of companies. Who is that? That is Facebook, that's WhatsApp obviously, and Instagram. And then there's a whole business side to this as well. But for the purpose of today, I'm going to present to you, because you're probably saying to yourself, well, if I don't stay with WhatsApp, where do I go? Okay, so we're going to feature some products for you. We're going to show you how they work in terms of security and privacy. I'm not going to go into the features. That's another issue altogether. We'll be here for too long. So let's have a look at this. So what we've done is we've made a column called service, being whichever service you may use, free to paid. Why is it important? As I said to you earlier, there's no such thing as a free lunch. And when services offer themselves as free, we need to understand their business model. What keeps them in business? That's the important bit. So when doing this review, we went through how they actually do their business. The other thing is registration information. How do you register? Can you register without a phone number, without an email? Can you just register by username or whatever the case may be? If you register with a phone number, that's okay-ish. It's not great because you're revealing that particular number to the servers. Do you register with email? Sure. If you can register with email and you've got, for instance, a Gmail account under a pseudonym, and whatever service you use accepts Gmail or Yahoo Mail or Hotmail or whatever you're using, then that is a possibility and you've got an extra layer of privacy there. Unfortunately, there are some services that require phone and email. Then there's those that only require username. Those are the ones that we want to try and get involved with, because we can make up these usernames as we go along, or they might give you an automatic username and it's not associated to your real identity. And then we've also looked at the country of origin. Why? First of all, what is the country's track record in terms of privacy and human rights issues? So if whatever service you're using, if that server is located in a country with a dicey track record, do you really want to be uploading your data to that service? And the other one is the country located in the 14 Eyes. What is the 14 Eyes? The 14 Eyes is a collaboration between various countries through their intelligence services. Yeah, there's a whole question mark. Can intelligence services get access to that data, and how and under what circumstances? Do they have free access to it? That in itself would be a debate. So we're not going to go into too much, just be aware of it. Let's face it, if some intelligence service is prying around into your data, you're in trouble anyway. So that probably won't assist you too much. Then we look at device context. In other words, does the service, as I explained earlier, take your contacts on your device and share that to their server, or uploads that to their server. And once it's on their server, what happens to those contacts' data? End-to-end encryption, that is, are your messages encrypted? Most of these services are encrypted, so there's no problem there. The last column, we're given a rating, and then finally a link to their privacy clauses on their websites. As I say, this is downloadable, so you can get a copy of this for your own information. So very quickly, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. We're going to run through them. You've got WeChat. It's free. It uses phone information. It's registered in China. Red flag. Okay, we all know about China's human rights track record. It does upload your device contacts. WeChat is a highly business-driven application. So that's actually why it exists. And there's a lot of criminality on there as well. So again, we give it a 1. Viber has been around for many years. It sits in Japan. It also uploads your device, your contacts, and it's free. It doesn't have a very transparent business model, so we don't know what goes on there. We've discussed WhatsApp. It's free. Why is it free? Because Facebook's going to be using it as a marketing tool. They have already started, and they've made that clear in the 2020 business conference that they had, that they're upping the marketing on Facebook, on WhatsApp. So you will see ads start appearing, and the reason that they're going through this process of a policy change is to use your data for that very particular reason. Kai will cover that. It's USA based, and funny enough, it's not one of the most favorite messaging tools in the USA. Yes, it uploads your contacts, as we've discussed. Dust is a fairly unknown messaging service in our part of the world. We rated on a 2. Now Telegram, the big question. A lot of people are telling us they're moving to Telegram. That's fine. Understand this. Telegram's free. Why? We don't know. There's been no disclosures. It originated in Russia. Does it still have servers in Russia? Yes, it does. He claims he's moved it out of Russia because the government wanted to get access to his data. But unfortunately, there have been links to Russia still. But yet, it is moved into the UAE. And the UAE doesn't have very clear privacy policies and human rights track records. We know this. Anybody that's had children that works in the UAE knows this. And we can go into that on another day. It shares your contact information. It does have encryption for messaging. The rest of Telegram's model, and I'll show you in a minute, is a nightmare. It has very little encryption other than through its messaging services. So if you belong to groups or channels or whatever, there's no encryption. And to set it all up is quite a trouble process. It's not an easy process. iMessage comes out of the Apple farm. Wants a phone and an email. It's free. We've given it a green because of where it comes from, and we rated it 2 because of the phone and the email issue. Confide, again, as an American product, it wants all your data. We've rated it a 3. Sudo, also out of the Apple stable, we've rated it a 4 because it has its own built-in privacy and security functions, which are quite nice. It also allows you to make use of different telephone numbers. Signal's the one that we rate very highly, even though it's fairly down on our list, and I think with my explanation going further, you'll understand why, but it's definitely the replacement tool for WhatsApp. Bear in mind that all WhatsApp's technology comes from Signal. So that is the good thing. WhatsApp exists because of Signal technology. So it's important to know that. The other thing is, one of the original WhatsApp founders, who has since left, has given Signal a $50 million donation for it to be able to up its and scale up its services. And staying on that point, Signal is a completely donations driven business model. It has what they call the Signal Foundation. So it exists because of that model. So that really takes a heap of pressure off us as users, because we know our data is not being used for commercial activities to be able to gain data about us. So really, if you want to leave WhatsApp, and even if you don't, start testing and playing around with Signal. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. I get nothing from this at all, so I'm not selling you something, but Signal is, on our recommendations, a good option. There's also Matrix, which we love. We really enjoy it. It's fantastic. It's web-based, it's phone-based, it's all over. It's an awesome tool. It also bridges between various, so in other words, if you've got a Matrix account, you can bridge to WhatsApp, for instance, which gives you a bit of a layer. We're not going to go into detail about that today. That's a different subject, and if you feel that you would like a full rundown on Matrix, it's awesome. We will do a webinar. Just let us know in the comments below. Let us know, and we'll set up a sort of a mini workshop or something on Matrix. But really, if you're a business owner and you need to keep in contact with your employees, your customers, this is really a good solution for you. It is free. They've disclosed why they are free. They're also based on donations. They have a foundation. Go onto their website, matrix.org, and check it all out. It's all there. Wickr is both free with limited services, but there is some protection even on their free tier, and then they have a fully paid tier. We certainly rate it highly up there as a paid tool. Particularly, you only have to register with a username. It's based in the USA, and you can choose whether you want to hand over your device contacts or not. Session is a small guy on the block. It's free. We don't understand their business model. We have found very little information about how they actually fund themselves and how they work with them, work with their whole concept. But the tool, over the greater scheme of things, seems to be a pretty good tool. Wire is paid. We give it a 5. It's top drawer stuff. If you're really, really serious about your privacy or your security, or your profile is of such a nature that you have to be aware of sensitive information, then Wire is definitely one of the paid tools for you. Based in Switzerland, there's no sharing of information. Everything's pretty locked down. It's a fantastic tool. The other one, which I use a lot, particularly for my business, is Threema. Also a great tool, paid. It's not very expensive, username based, and doesn't collect data about you. I'm just going to give you a quick demonstration on how some of these apps actually leak data. So what we have here is good old Google. Let's just see, you can see there, we're going to do a bit of what we call Google hacking or Google dorking. So you make Google do certain searches for you on your type of whatever instruction you're phasing there. In this case, it's sitechat.whatsapp.com. Now, what does this do? This particular search will tell Google to go and find any WhatsApp chats that have been leaked. Let's see what we can find. There's none. The reason for that is when people share links to chats or logins or whatever the case may be, that hangs around on the internet and drips out, and it gets indexed by Google. Google spends its life scrubbing all these things off there. Yandex does the same. We can try Yandex. Yandex is the Google equivalent in Russia. It says it's got one farm, but normally those ones don't equate too much. No. Let's try Bing, and we go there, and then we've got results here. We can try that one. It's got a couple of results. Let's have a look what we find. Let's try another one. Here we go. Here's a whole bunch of them. So that gives you an example, and I've opened one of them. I'm not going to go into it. I'm not going to open it up, but that's a particular WhatsApp chat that is out there, and people can access or join it from there. So be aware of that. If you have a group or whatever the case may be, particularly in groups, then just be aware of that. You may have set up that group, and it might be leaking data and being indexed by any of the search engines. When it comes to Telegram, as I said to you earlier, it's searchable, particularly for groups and channels. And let's have a look here. This is a tool called Telegram, telegram.im. It's got a bunch of stats on it. You can go through it. And then if you go into the search function, for example, let's type in, close that. Let's try proud. Let's type in Proud Boys and enter. And this is where a lot of people think they form a confidential confidential group on Telegram, and then they, without knowing it, they realize, but hold on, and there it is. I can open this. Let's have a look. So on my desktop here we've got into the Proud Boys group. I'm not going to go into it. They don't exactly charm me. So there you go. I mean, Telegram leaks data. These guys might think that they're confidential or unknown, but they're not. And then another guy has actually built a Google search engine for Telegram. Let's just type in Netflix and see if there are any results. And sure enough, there are a whole bunch. There's actually Netflix's Telegram contact, so you can contact them directly. But hypothetically speaking, let's just say you've got some sort of group out there, you've used Telegram for it, and it's your knitting club or something that you want to keep away from prying eyes. Unfortunately, the chances of it leaking data is very good. Okay, so that had concluded my presentation. Some of the questions that were asked for my portion, I'm going to cover now, that you also get the benefit of the information from those. So the first one was, what if I use WhatsApp but not Facebook? Well, the reality is your data is going to be transferred from WhatsApp to Facebook. Let me share a story with you. I started using WhatsApp way back in, before Facebook even bought them in 2016. I started using, because I was using WhatsApp at a time when the messaging wasn't even encrypted. So here's the thing. I then opened a Facebook account for fun in 2019. And when I opened that Facebook account, it made recommendations based on people on my phone. So all that data was carried across. It was quite a scary experience. How exactly are they creating a profile about us via WhatsApp? Only the locations, media shared, or also the words, emojis used, or only through the contacts I have on my phone? Your messages are 100% encrypted. That information is not going to Facebook's servers. What is going, when it comes to messages, is the metadata. Now, Kai will cover the metadata shortly, and that is the date and the time that you sent the message. It will also send your location. Now, a lot of people say, oh, well, I'll just switch off my location on my phone. It'll protect me from there. No, it won't. WhatsApp will make a determination of your location based on your IP address. So that's it'll narrow it down into quite a narrow area, as to, because remember, IP addresses can be tracked as where they are located around the world. So that will be determined. All your other info, so in pictures that send in the messages won't be uploaded, but pictures on your status, your profile, those will all be uploaded. There is no encryption beyond the messages. In other words, your contacts, your profile, your status, that type of activity, all that gets collected by Facebook. The last question that was asked, when you have WhatsApp, does not share encrypted messages, correct? Does that cover photos or not? I've already covered that particular question. Your pictures that are in the message will not be uploaded to Facebook, so you find there, but anything else, your status or your profile pictures, will be. Hope you enjoyed my presentation. Kai Klein-Gunther is coming up shortly to do the sort of legal perspective of it and data protection through that. And then finally, Rigo will give us a little bit of a technical feel to it, and also shows us how you can actually track somebody via a WhatsApp message. Thank you again. and enjoy the rest of the webinar. Okay, well, Kai is... Oh, there we go.
Sorry. Okay.
There you go.
Thank you very much.
Over to you, Kai.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Warm and hearty welcome to all of you. Thank you very much for joining us tonight on this discussion. And a big thank you goes out to Sinetio Cybersecurity. Andrew and Rigo, thank you very much for hosting this presentation tonight. I think it is very important to discuss this matter. And without further ado, I'll just get into my presentation. So I went through the privacy policy that that WhatsApp has been sharing. And the first thing I need to just point out that in a nutshell, the policy applies to individuals living outside of the European regions. So the WhatsApp policy that has been sent to all of us is the one that is being distributed or shared to people that are living outside of the European region. Now, to put this into perspective, obviously the European region is quite big, so I'm just going to mention a couple of the countries that are not affected by this specific policy, but they have a separate one. So this would include countries like Austria, Czech Republic, Germany, France, and for example, Holland. Now, the reason for this is that the EU zone is governed by the General Data Protection Regulations, and their data controller is the WhatsApp Ireland Limited, which is sitting in Ireland, obviously, and it regulates how this data privacy policy will be implemented. We do need to say, though, that this is not applicable to the SADC region because we are not GDPR compliant or we don't fall under the legislation. Furthermore, the policy looks at what and how data is collected, as Andrew already mentioned, and that information is then shared to the mother company, Facebook, or any other third party if need be. I do need to emphasize the fact, though, that WhatsApp will not share your encrypted messages, as these are, like I said, end-to-end encrypted, and some of the other messaging apps that Andrew has mentioned have also end-to-end encryption. Coming to the fact that Andrew mentioned this earlier, we need to look at something called aggregate and metadata. So just to give you an indication of what aggregate data is, so aggregate data is information collected from multiple sources or multiple measures, variables, and this is important also from individuals. Such information is then compiled into data summaries or summary reports and submitted to either the third party being Facebook or then a third party business or so. They use that information to build they use that statistical information to build a user profile, which they will then use to either target you or sell products to you on a specific targeted advertisement. And the other part of what Andrew touched on was metadata. So metadata is an underlining definition or description, and it summarizes the basic information about data. So that aggregate data is then used, or the metadata is used to make it easier for companies to find individuals or to use the data to access information about somebody. We can often find metadata in document files or in images, videos, and then also on web pages. And I think that is important. Coming to my third slide, which I'll just quickly touch again on the metadata. So aggregate data is information collected from multiple sources or multiple measures, variables, or individuals. So this is important because WhatsApp will also be collecting information about the individual user. Such information is then compiled into data summary or summary report and submitted to a third party, either being Facebook or then a third party, such as a business if needed. We can thus state that the metadata, the aggregate data that is collected is statistical data. And what they use with the statistical data is they'll build a user profile, as Facebook is already doing, but they'll use WhatsApp as well to create a statistical or a profile about the user. With regards to the metadata, metadata is the underlining definition or description. It's something that summarizes basic information about data, and it can make findings and workings with particular instances of data easier. So it allows companies to find you easier, find web pages easier. We often find metadata in document files, but also in images, videos, and then obviously web pages, which would be beneficial for WhatsApp and / the mother company Facebook to target specific individuals. So speaking about the aggregated data and the metadata, I'm going to get over to slide 4, which is the third-party information. This is important for why they're collecting this aggregate data and why they're asking the users to consent to the new privacy policy. So WhatsApp will be able to collect information provided by others. This means that whatever any other user on your phone shares about you, this may include your phone number, name, or information. And what is important to understand here is that it places consent on the user. So you as the user have to have a lawful access to share that information. And yeah, we'll see. I think we'll have to get back into the discussion as well to see how they want users to consent to that. Furthermore, they'll be able to have something like a user report. This is a third parties may now report you to WhatsApp, or user may now report you to WhatsApp in terms of interactions and messages sent between yourself and other users. So this would specifically be for violation of the policy. What is important here to consider is that information may be collected on the reporting user and the reported user. So if I report somebody, that information is collected, and if I report, also my information will be collected and that of another user. So that is a bit of a problem, because if I was reported, they'll collect all my information and they'll collect your information as well. So thirdly, there'll be obviously businesses on WhatsApp. So businesses that are interacting with and that are using WhatsApp services may now provide information about you to WhatsApp. So once again, WhatsApp requires such businesses to act in accordance with the applicable law. And please do bear with me, Namibia does not have a data protection law. So it means that your data will be shared freely as they wish. And also remember that any person may have access to this information in the context of the business. So let's say a company only has one phone, that one person or that person will then have access, or other people will then have access to your personal information. And maybe also other organizations, specifically external companies. So it says that any organization may have an external third party collecting, storing, reading, managing, or sending information and communication. So that means that a third party would also have access to your information to send you targeted marketing information, emails, or WhatsApp information about new products. Then it's stipulates that there's third-party service providers. Now, WhatsApp, and like Andrew mentioned, WhatsApp works with third-party service providers, meaning that external companies, including Facebook, assist WhatsApp with operating, providing, improving, and understanding customer behavior. And this is where it becomes interesting, because the aggregate data that is collected on you as an individual will be used to build a customer profile, which will then allow them to target you with specific advertisements. This means that you're going to become an influencer, even if you don't know it. You'll be influenced by what WhatsApp has to send to you and what they send you in terms of information, in terms of advertisements. So they'll use that information and share it with third parties. So hypothetically, somebody loves beer, they know about it. They'll start targeting you with more beer adverts to see how you react to that advertisement. And I think that is exactly what makes this so worrying, is that they will be able to control your psychology behind it. And I'm not a psychologist, but I do know that this will trigger people to be more on the buying side of life. And then fifthly, third-party services. So WhatsApp makes use of third-party services, including things like news agencies. So at any given time that you use the user shares an article information with WhatsApp contacts, WhatsApp may receive such information and may again build a profile around you as the user. So they'll be able to see when you like or share a newspaper article with context on your phone. So they'll be able to target you on that as well. And coming to my last slide, so the data protection law. And I need to highlight this fact. In today's day and age, where data is golden and we share information with family and friends and business, data protection laws are more important than ever before. So if we look currently, Namibia does not have any data protection laws in place, meaning that the end user is not protected against any infringements of privacy. Our counterparts in South Africa, they have the POPI Act, the Protection of Personal Information Act, and the information regulatory body is currently analyzing and reviewing the policy to see whether the new policy is in compliance with POPI. We are still waiting for a feedback from the information regulatory body to tell us if it is in line and whether they feel it is okay, because they obviously want to protect the privacy of their individuals. And then lastly, we have the European Union. As mentioned earlier, the European Union does have one of the strongest data protection laws in place, which is the GDPR, the General Data Protection Regulations. And I do feel that they're very strong in protecting the privacy of their individuals and their citizens of the country. Now, to end this off, obviously, it is your prerogative of the end user to continue using WhatsApp or choose an alternative messaging application, as Andrew has mentioned. But that will be ultimately your decision here in Namibia to take, whether you're going to stay with WhatsApp or whether you're going to choose any of the other platforms. All right. Thank you very much. And my apologies for the internet issues here. Sorry, Andrew. There's a bit of an up and down there. Apologies.
Okay. No problem. That was excellent. Well done, Kai. Thank you so much.
I'll need to get a better internet line.
You made it in the end. You made it in the end. Thank goodness for that.
Well, yeah. If there's any questions, obviously I'll gladly answer them again. If anybody wants the presentation, I'll gladly share it as well, just for you to go through it.
Awesome. Okay, we've got a couple of questions. Rigo, I'm going to give this one to you. How exactly are they creating a profile about us via WhatsApp? Only the locations and media shared, or also words, emojis used, or only through the contacts I have on my phone? Rigo, I'm going to give this one to you.
Okay, so let me just actually get my screen share going, since I'm just going to start off freeform with this presentation.
Okay, while you're doing that, I'll deal with the next question. The next question is, if I use a VPN, what happens when you use a VPN? These services will collect the VPN's details. They will also know that it's a VPN, and but it does give you a small amount of protection. It may help. If you're using any sort of desktop application, that help is gone because your browser details will be collected. I hope that covers that question. So it's a very small, limited version of protection. And for those that don't know what a VPN is, it's a virtual private network. It gives you a security tunnel from whatever device you're using to the internet. You ready, Rigo?
Yeah, so can you see my screen here? I've got my little drawing program open.
Yes.
Okay. So in terms of your WhatsApp profile.
Great for handwriting.
Yeah, it's perfect. Perfect for this. So in terms of what WhatsApp actually knows about you, they've got the IP address, what IP address you're connecting from. They have to know that in order to talk to your phone and their server. And next thing they have is they have the name, whatever name you set on your profile, the image you set for your WhatsApp profile, your status, if you set yourself online, offline, some custom text line, at some friend's place, whatever. They know your phone model number and your phone number. So what particular brand of Samsung something you have. They know what Wi-Fi access point name you're connected to. And specifically, they say they don't collect your Wi-Fi access point name. Like if your Wi-Fi name is called Rigo's Wi-Fi access point or something like that, they don't collect that. They instead make a checksummed or a hashed version of that Wi-Fi access point name. So it's a big, long gobbledygook of numbers, which can't be reversed to give you the original name, but it still uniquely identifies your Wi-Fi network. So if I put in Rigo's Wi-Fi network as the name in every time, I always get the same hash out. And the last thing that we're still not quite fully sure if they have it, but I think they must have it in order to do some of the fraud prevention features, is the International Mobile Equipment Identifier number of your phone. And this is a number that's unique to your specific phone. If you change your SIM card, this number doesn't change, it still stays there. It's tied to the actual device of the phone. And this is used when generating the encryption key when you first set up WhatsApp on a device, when you then get that SMS notification with the key in it and so forth. This is just one of the ingredients they use in the recipe for building a encryption model between the WhatsApp server and your phone that you're connecting with. Okay, now I want to actually just get over to the more interesting part. Where am I? Where's my mouse? There we go. So over here, we've got the Facebook server. Here we've got the WhatsApp server. And this here is basically the common application gateway, or we just call it a proxy in this case, that WhatsApp and Facebook are using to route traffic to all of their servers. Because when you have several billion users, there isn't one particular server, one particular system that can handle all the connections where you're connecting to Facebook or WhatsApp. So instead what they have, they've got load balancing proxies. And these load balancing proxies are shared between Facebook and WhatsApp. So your device, when it connects to your Facebook profile or when it's sending WhatsApp messages, it's going through this shared proxy. And that thing decides then, OK, this is WhatsApp traffic, this is Facebook traffic. I'm going to send it on to the specific server. And when those servers respond, they then again talk back to the proxy and send the stuff over to you. Now, the thing is that Facebook and WhatsApp both say that they're not directly collecting information that can identify you uniquely to a Facebook profile. That's technically true. Okay, let's rephrase that. They say they're not directly collecting and sharing information of your WhatsApp profile directly with Facebook. What they're instead doing is just collecting the connection traffic logs here on this proxy, on the load balancer. So when you're connecting in from an IP address that is, say, 1.2.3.4 that you are using here for your phone, every time you send traffic through this proxy, it sees, OK, 1.2.3.4 is connecting to Facebook. Then another time they see 1.2.3.4 is connecting to WhatsApp. And you're obviously always using this unique thing for all sorts of traffic stuff. And then on this server here and this server here, they're seeing this IP address handed off to them. So they see 1.2.3.4 is correlated to Rigo Reddick's Facebook profile. And here they see on Facebook the same thing, WhatsApp, same thing. So without actually sharing data between these two directly, they can at the proxy correlate, OK, this guy has a Facebook profile. He's connecting with this IP, the same IP address connected to the WhatsApp profile. And that's how they can figure out who's who behind the system, essentially. Mainly what I just want to show is, because I did this before in case something goes wrong. This is my IP address here at the top, 41, oh, what the heck? Yeah, 41.182.147.159. This is my IP address. Now, what I did earlier is I sent Kai a little string over WhatsApp that says portal.synetio.com. That's all it says. And on that page is a little program that checks who connects to it. And the moment I pasted this on my chat, I hadn't gone there. I got this response back. So WhatsApp in the background, even when you paste any link, it already looks at the other link, either to generate the thumbnail or just to see if the site actually exists. It already looks at the link. So the moment I sent it, you can see here, 9:29 p.m. is the time. Let's just scroll on, 9:28. There we go. And then I got an email at 19:29 here that says, this source host with my IP address connected to the server. And then a little bit later, when Kai looked at it, or now this is another thing, yeah. But without even doing anything in particular, okay, now Kai has looked at it. Let's refresh the inbox. Just give it a quick wait. Usually takes a little while, but in general, you get the gist of it that WhatsApp, without telling you, looks at the links that are being posted, and some malicious user who wants to identify where you are connecting from, what IP address you're connecting from, can just send you a link, paste that into your chat, And then within no time, especially if you're using the WhatsApp web version, another server that they've configured can log the connection coming to that. And we can then actually do something basic like this, put the IP address in there to look where that might be located. And it sees this is in Namibia. It thinks we're in Walvis Bay, something like that, with the location. And once you have the IP address, you can also use that to then further target this user, find out what their router is at home, what MTC thing they have connected with. Yeah. Is there some questions so far that we've got?
So far, we've got a question for Kai. Kai, are you there?
Yes, I'm there.
When you say aggregated data, do you mean aggregated metadata or is it separate data source?
So in terms of the aggregated data, that would be any type of statistical information or any information about the user. Like if you look at the policy, it says in some newspaper articles also say there's certain information that can be collected about the battery usage, the amount of times that you're on the phone, how many times you open WhatsApp. So that's aggregate data that they'll use to push through and share with Facebook to tell them, okay, you are active on a, let's say on a Monday morning at 8 o'clock till 10 o'clock. That's the best time to target you as an individual with certain advertisements. So that is the aggregate data that they'll start pushing through and sharing with Facebook. And with the metadata, that would be the bigger picture of you as an individual being built around the individual itself. So whether you are, using WhatsApp and Facebook, they'll have that profile already built up, and they'll understand who the profile pertains to, and then they'll use that information to build a bigger profile around you to target you with specific data or specific advertisements that they feel you would be interested in. So that's the difference between the two types of data that they'll probably try and collect in the long run, or what that they'll collect with WhatsApp now. So
Yeah.
that's basically.
Yeah. I hope that answers that question. Somebody says question for Andrew. Okay. Do you want to come on board and give us your question, or do you want to type it? When you say that WhatsApp does not share encrypted messages, does that cover photographs or not? Presumably not. The messaging is completely encrypted. So if you send a picture from you to somebody else, it's totally encrypted. So it won't have any issues there. So that will be completely encrypted.
So the only elements on WhatsApp that are not encrypted is your status and your profile image and your name. But the entire communication channel between you and another person, even in group chats you're communicating with, is each connection is encrypted just for the recipient receiving it.
Yeah. Okay, what are you showing us, Rigo?
Yeah, so this is a little website called Cover Your Tracks, created by the EFF. And what this does is it collects a bunch of unique parameters about your device. In this case, the web browser and the system that it's running on, to basically determine how many bits of identifying information your system has. And this is actually a system that's running quite a few ad blockers and JavaScript filters, all sorts of other things. But I just ran this test here. And in the past 45 days of testing, only 1 in 98,000 browsers had the same fingerprint as me. And why am I telling you this for a browser when we're talking about WhatsApp? You remember earlier when I showed you about the links that we can send on WhatsApp. Anytime you send some kind of link in that, the Android web framework that is responsible for looking up any kind of HTML web content on your Android device or iOS, in iOS's WebKit, makes a request to that server. And also WhatsApp on their behalf does a request to the server. And Facebook, when you're browsing Facebook, collects a bunch of parameters about your browser. How big the screen is, where you're moving your mouse, what sort of fonts are on your system, what your time zone is, all the same stuff that I told you just now, what WhatsApp in the background can collect when you're pasting a link into there, sending a link to friends. And they can create basically a unique identifier which can identify you out of a pretty good population size, so unique to 1 in 98,000. And if you then correlate this to a few IP addresses, or just to a country or a city based on the IP address, you can uniquely correlate anyone without knowing their name, without knowing their phone number, without knowing or even caring who they are or where they are. You can tie any kind of WhatsApp profile based on the link browser data that's being processed in the background to some kind of Facebook profile. Have there been some questions so far? Is that clear?
I've got a PM here. Can WhatsApp be hacked, and can it be done with a malicious app? The answer to both of those is yes. This hold fire. The real issue about hacking WhatsApp, the easiest way for somebody to hack WhatsApp is to hack your phone. And that's a lot easier than what people think, because there's certain spywares that are for sale on the internet. The key there is whoever's going to do it needs to get access to your phone. Safari tells me that in the past 40 days, it prevented 40 trackers from creating a profile of yours. What does this mean?
So this is a bit off topic, but I'll gladly show it anyway. Let's pick some kind of ugly page that does a lot of profiling in the background.
CNN.
Yeah, CNN.
Yeah.
Oh, what's all the fun stories here? So I've got a plugin installed that tells me what JavaScript code is running on a page and what tries to load in the background. And you can see there's CNN.com, which is the actual stuff we would be interested in. I don't know if it's visible, if it's too small for everyone.
That's visible.
Yeah.
And then we see ads Twitter.com. I didn't go to Twitter. I'm on CNN. Why is it loading Twitter stuff? There's another ads train. There's Boom Train. What the heck is that? There's Bounce Exchange, Chartbeat.com, DoubleClick.net, Outbrain, Post Release, OneTag, USA Billa. So these are all advertising agencies that inject adverts into the page in the background. And you can see here my ad block actually has filtered 28 different things. I'll just open the panel for that quickly. Please. Where's it going? Here we go. Okay. Let's just refresh this. And we can see all the crazy resources it's loading here. So there's Outbrains loading a little bit of JavaScript. There's GeoTV Locate. There's USA Billa loading some weird JavaScript. Basically, all this stuff is code that attempts to fingerprint your browser. Like I showed here earlier with the fingerprinting, they collect whatever unique information they can about your browser that doesn't necessarily include any social media profiles or stuff like that. And then they correlate it with whatever articles you're visiting on this page. So this JavaScript code, it has full access to the current page or tab that you're browsing on. They can see anything that's going on there, where you're hovering your mouse over, how long you're looking at some specific segment of the page. And then obviously here at the top, let's see, Twitter. We can see here, there's a lookup to Twitter. Now, if you're on the same browser, logged into Twitter as well, this basically sends a ping back to Twitter and looks at what profile you're connected to. And they can correlate your browsing activity on CNN to your Twitter profile if you're logged into that. That's basically what that is. Footy trackers prevented or creating a profile of yours is they're just blocking this JavaScript code and such, preventing you from executing it. That's the same thing.
And that's where the money making comes in.
Yeah, that's absolutely the Facebook, for an example, doesn't sell any services really. What they sell is basically user conversions, as they call it, and metrics. So profiles to advertising agencies about people's interests, what they're looking at, building this out into like demographic packages, so you know like what some city or what the people who look at some topic are interested in, what the general trend is for what is Swakopmund is like more than Windhoekers, all such funny kind of information.
So one can almost say that you've become the product of Facebook. They're selling your information and your profile to other companies. Yeah. So you're the product.
Yeah. We are the product.
Whenever something is free, whenever some service is free, ask yourself, how are they making the money? Something has to be getting sold. I mean, those servers, Facebook, WhatsApp, they've got over 1 million servers to run the infrastructure distributed around the world. Those things don't pay for themselves.